Hi, everyone. This is Jeffrey Henderson. My presentation is titled State Laws Targeting Illegal Aliens Are Necessary to Protect American Citizens and to Disincentivize Illegal Immigration. It is based on Senate File 2340 from the state of Iowa. I chose Senate File 2340 from the state of Iowa, which was signed April 10th, 2024 by Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds. I chose this law because I believe it is getting unfair coverage in the mainstream press and because illegal immigration is a very controversial issue. Senate File 2340 allows local police to arrest illegal aliens in the state of Iowa if they have been previously deported or denied admission into the United States. It does not apply to anyone here under asylum, dreamers, or any other category of immigrant. It is targeted at people who absolutely know that they should not be here, but have chosen to ignore our country's laws and enter anyways. The law makes it an aggravated misdemeanor to enter or re-enter Iowa if they meet the above criteria, and the charge is upgraded to a felony if they were previously deported after a conviction for drugs, crimes against a person, or a felony. My first argument in support of this law is that it will reduce crime in the state of Iowa. People who have previously committed crimes are much more likely to commit additional crimes, and by removing people in this category from the state, they will have less crime overall. This means less people dead, such as Sarah Root, who was killed by an illegal alien who was drag racing while intoxicated at 3 times the legal level of alcohol. The perpetrator in this case, Essa Mejia, fled the country after posting bail and is still at large. In my paper, I cite 3 other high-profile crimes committed in Iowa by people this law would have seen arrested and deported, including the murder of Molly Tibbetts, who was stabbed to death, the rape of a 12-year-old girl, and a high-profile methamphetamine trafficker with ties to Mexican cartels. These were all high-profile crimes that made headlines. There are untold numbers of victims of theft, robbery, assault, and other crimes that didn't make the news, but who nonetheless shouldn't have had to suffer as their victimizers never should have been in the country in the first place. My second argument in support of this law is that it will reduce the financial burden that the state of Iowa bears in providing schooling, policing, court cost, healthcare, and public assistance, and other government agency services to people who have no right to be here. In 2023, the state of Iowa spent $322 million on government services for illegal aliens present in the state. That's $252 per household. Based on the average salary in Iowa, this means the average Iowan worked 9 hours that year to pay for services to illegal aliens. My first argument against this law comes from immigrant activist groups. They claim that police will use this law to indiscriminately target anyone of Hispanic descent who otherwise looks like an immigrant for traffic stops or other forms of harassment. Nowhere in the law is this actually allowed, and racial profiling is already illegal in the United States. Any officer engaging in this kind of activity would likely lose their job. While it isn't unimaginable that some police officers might engage in such profiling, they were likely bad cops before this law passed and shouldn't be police officers anyways. I'm no cheerleader for law enforcement, but if a cop is interacting with someone and they discover they are in the US illegally and meet the criteria under this law, I would much rather the officer arrest them, charge them, and let the person be deported than have them go free. My second argument against this law is that it is unconstitutional under the decision in Arizona v. United States from 2012. In that decision, the Supreme Court struck down a law in Arizona that allowed police to check a person's immigration status during a traffic stop or other police interaction if they had reasonable suspicion that the person was in the country illegally, and to arrest someone without a warrant if they believed they were deportable. And it also made it a crime to work in Arizona without legal authorization. The Supreme Court struck down most provisions of the law, but did allow Section 2B to stand, which allows police to stop or detain individuals under reasonable suspicion and request citizenship identification. Under this ruling, at least some parts of the Iowa bill should stand. However, I believe the true goal of the Iowa law and others like it is to use the legal proceedings challenging them as a vehicle to get back to the Supreme Court and see Arizona v. United States overturned. This would make state enforcement of the immigration laws fully legal, which is necessary considering the federal government's unwillingness to do so. In conclusion, I will point out the massive number of people crossing our border every day. We've reached record levels, and these numbers only represent people who encounter Border Patrol. No one knows how many get by undetected, but it's estimated to be 1.6 million between fiscal year 21 and 2023. No one knows who these people are, yet they live among us. Our country has a housing affordability crisis, a homelessness crisis, and a drug crisis brought on by synthetic opioids smuggled across our border. Simple, common sense laws like Senate File 2340 in Iowa will remove actual criminals who should not be in our country and discourage people from entering illegally in the first place. This is a step in the right direction. Here are the references I used to obtain these images and other facts found in this presentation. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you and have a good afternoon.